So a bit over a week ago at the time of this recording, I made a video as a sort of wishlist discussion on the rumored Persona 3 remake or / port. I had no idea that the video was going to do as good as it did, and even better than some of my recent Kingdom Hearts videos, which is beautiful to see because it's a series I aim to talk more about, and seeing it well received makes me really happy. But if I'm honest, that video was kinda pretty slapped together in terms of commentary, so I'd like to give it another go on this topic, mainly because that video primarily focused on if Persona 3 was going to be re-released, which version they should do, as I state the differences between the versions, then I go into what features of all the versions should be picked out and added for the re-release. So in a way, that video still stands, but I want to go all out on really remaking Persona 3, not a port, a remake. I think it's insane how this Persona game in particular has unlimited potential when it comes to remaking it, likely due to this game's age, so there's a lot that can be done with it. So buckle up everyone, this one's a passion project. And no worries, depending on how well this video does, we can do a similar video for Persona 1, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, and Eternal Punishment, so be sure to show this video some love. But I also want to give a huge thanks to everyone on screen here who backs me on Patreon. YouTube is a tough game to play while we're in extremely tough times here, so truly thank you for helping my family and I during these times. But without further ado, let's remake Persona 3. The original Persona 3 was released into the wild back in 2006. That's going on 15 years ago now. During that time though, Persona games have continued to be released for the world to enjoy. Though in particular when it comes to the Persona fanbase, referring to the fans who have experienced at least 3 to 5 here, it's pretty commonly known that there's something different about Persona 3. This was the game that to many people started Persona on the path to what it is now, being the first game to have social links and the one more battle system, etc. As for those who don't know, these things weren't in Persona 1 or 2. Like I said in the last Persona 3 video, I don't understand how someone could play Persona 3 and deem it overall as archaic. There are tons of features and mechanics that act the same as they do in the newest of Persona games, so I don't quite get that. Of course, I know mainly people are referring to the non-controllable party members here, so on our blueprint, let's go ahead and remedy that. The game natively allows you to edit the tactics of the fight so you can set up certain people to focus on certain things. You can even still do this in Persona 5 Royal. However, as most would agree, nothing beats directly commanding your party, that way you don't have to rely on AI to decide your fate, especially when you get further into the game. But I also think remaking this game but only going as far to allow for controllable party isn't enough. I think adding mechanics from the later games to this remake is an obvious inclusion, but I want to get specific. I think a mechanic like the baton pass from Persona 5 is a great choice as it speeds up the gameplay and allows for greater strategies to be made by the player. I also think having the navigator actually be playable is a cool concept because they aren't playable in any of the games, which I find strange as in games like Persona 5, you can still give that navigator equipment to, up their defenses and stuff like that, but you don't actually play as them. I think finding a way to make it work would be extremely cool, such as tweaking party formations to where people line up in certain spots with the navigator visibly behind them, but allowing them to have a turn would mean more buffs and debuffs, but I think a good trade-off would be how many times the navigator could be used manually in a fight, and how much SP their magic uses. They'll still have a random chance to aid the party like normal, but say 2 to 3 times a fight, you can choose them to use an ability to aid the rest of the party manually. This is something I think would take a decent amount of work to balance, but then again, that's what I expect a bigger game studio to be able to handle, which then leads me to beg for the custom difficulty option from the Persona 4 Golden PC port to return, making you be able to make the game even harder or even easier than the original release allowed, also adding modifiers for how much money you gain from each fight, alongside how much EXP you gain each fight, just like Persona 4 Golden's re-release did. Unlike every Persona game afterwards, Persona 3 only includes a single dungeon within its campaign, with an obvious story reason as to why this is the case. Now don't think where I'm going with this is to add additional dungeons, heck no. However, though I do think reworking it would help modernize its design. Though I have nothing against classic dungeon crawlers, but when you compare this to more defining dungeons that you can find in, say, Persona 5 or even the character-based ones in Persona 4, I think Tartarus lacks a bit of identity, especially earlier on. on. Though the scenery does change the more floors you traverse throughout the game, I feel it's still too easy to get lost within them because despite having a theme of, say, this set of 15 floors, this floor looks no different from the last, and honestly, every part of the floor you're on looks nearly identical. Sure, we have a map, but the thing about maps is that they should be something used as confirmation in video games. I should be able to get a lay of the land by simply observing and exploring it. And yeah, in a way you can still do this, but it's certainly not the same thing, nor is it easier to do. Though I still have to admit, I am a fan of the randomly generated floor theme from Persona 3 and Persona 4. However, I can recognize that most would probably prefer something more defining and more memorable from their 100+ hour adventures. So for this, I'd say that since we'd be working with one single dungeon, I'd say at the intervals where the theme of the floors change, rework them to be more defining and parallel aspects of people's lives and mental states. The game focuses on people's mentality a lot as you progress, as you can see how the NPCs change throughout its runtime. So going even further to reflect this through Tartarus would be an excellent way to not only make Tartarus more memorable, but it also would reinforce the plot points of the story. Now don't let the title of this segment fool you. I don't want someone to lay a finger on our good boy Makoto, or Minato if you're a manga head. My problem doesn't lie with the character himself, which includes the design being something I'm completely happy with. Grab Yuri Lowenthal to voice him again and I'm a happy camper. However, there's one thing that bothers me to this day, and that's how there's no social link with any of the guy party members, and I'm baffled as to how this could be. Initially, I thought they just forgot, but seeing how other males throughout the city like Akinari and schoolmates like Kisuke all have social links, it makes me feel that for some reason you could only do the girl social links just to romance them. I mean, yeah, I was gonna do it anyway, but that doesn't mean I don't want to bond with my boys too, which thankfully they did remedy for Persona 4. But what's even more baffling is that when they re-released P3 again, which was after Persona 4's release, they finally gave the homies their own social link, but they're exclusive to the new female main character route. Why was it like this? I don't understand. I understand wanting to provide incentives for playing both routes, as the dialogue and personality with the main character is different, but locking out whole social links? No sir, no sir, we need that tweaked. Because they were tweaking. Give us the female main character back, but allow us to have social links with all of our party members regardless of which protag you choose, and allow us to be able to choose to romance the social link or not, just as it is in the newest of games, as in P3 FES, maxing out a girl's social link would make you date them. This one on the surface is pretty obvious, but for those that don't know, with this game being the first in the series to attempt the social link system we've come to love, it doesn't exactly work the same way here. Originally, it was just a way to get more experience for newly fused personas and unlock new ones. But with Persona 4, they changed it to where teammate social links will have them gain special abilities, like follow-up attacks and to take a fatal blow for the main character, because in this series, if he dies, the whole battle is lost. Also, maxing out the social link would have their persona evolve into an even stronger one with improved stats. But I think this needs to be added into Persona 3. Seeing new personas for our main cast would be so satisfying to see after all these years and just identifying these people with these specific personas. Though that's not the only thing I'd want made. I also find reversible and breakable social links to be the dumbest thing ever. My reasoning for this is that this game is all about time management, and there's already so much to do in this game. I feel punishing the player by reversing their relationship with someone is interesting to an extent. In a way, it's even realistic. People do drift away when not in contact with one another. But for the sake of the game, it's frustrating when you're already doing your best to manage time. I feel it's punishment enough to miss out on the perks of leveling up with people, like more EXP gained in battle, making it easier to manage time, and more. Which again, I want to see added, as the original game didn't have that. I know Persona 4 technically had the reversible and breakable aspect too, but it could only actually happen with 2 people, and it was very easy to avoid doing even on your first playthrough. Though there is one more aspect of social links that I want reworked for Persona 3, and that's the pointless and aimless aspects of a couple of them. Mitsuru's feels like there's random filler put in it just as it's getting good. Yukari's feels like there's literally nothing happening and nothing being learned in it. Yuko's is the exact same way, where just random things happen and then boom, now you're dating. And Nozomi's, who's literally just an ignorant jerk to you the entire time and doesn't even learn anything from any of the time you spend together. It's just not even the endearing kind of being a jerk. It's the why am I torturing myself by hanging out with you kind. I feel if some of these are reworked to flow better and actually give you a reason to grow closer with these people, that's all I really ask for. I know this part is super biased, but after all, I am the one making the video. I know this part may be obvious and the other part debatable, but of course, the graphics need to be overhauled. They can literally rip what they did from Persona 5 Royal and do it for this game. The same engine they used for the story of Catherine. I feel this does a good job showing the expressiveness of characters, but doesn't take away from the stylish portraits of the characters. Give it the whole 9 yards, but this doesn't mean copy and paste. I want what was done for the PC port of Persona 4 Golden to be done here, and by that I mean higher frame rates, to where at least on the PC version of this P3 remake, I'd like the frame rate to be unlocked and it to be 4K through 8K ready. The same can be done for the console versions. For this scenario though, I'm going to say PS5 and Xbox Series X. However, they'd likely be 60 through 120 FPS ready, depending on the mode you choose between. Highest quality, which would be 8K resolution and 60 FPS, and highest performance, which is 4K resolution and 120 FPS. Moving along from graphics though, I think this is the debatable part. I think the P3 soundtrack slaps, like it really slaps, but I think giving the option between the original, the female main character, and a redone version would be fantastic. I'd love to hear these memorable songs in a new way. I felt the same for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I didn't think the original OST could be surpassed, but now I prefer the redone OST over the original. But for this, redoing the male and female ones would have to be present too, making the choices original male OST, original female OST, redone male OST, and redone female OST, all being accessible regardless of the main character you choose. Because honestly, if I want to play as the female main character but I want to hear Makoto's OST, I should be able to. And the same goes for the opposite scenario too. But this concludes my list on proving Persona 3 has unlimited potential when it comes to being remade. There are some stuff I missed, I'm sure though, like jobs being added to the game like P4 and P5, and there's a ton of other stuff I purposely left out because I want to save it for my upcoming Persona 6 video I'm making. So if you have anything you'd like added to Persona 3 Remake, let me know down in the comments below. Once again, I want to thank all my patrons for making this video possible, and if you'd like to support me beyond liking the video, sharing it, and subscribing, the link to my Patreon where you can vote on video topics and stream series will always be available in the description below and in the pinned comment. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce, and remember my warriors of courage to stay strong, stay beautiful, and always look skyward.